Happy Sunday. Welcome back to Leading with Love, where we explore what it truly means to lead with heart in our workplaces, our homes, and our communities. I'm your host, Laura, and today we're diving into a topic that sits at the core of a healthy culture: psychological safety. I thought about this topic yesterday while in the car with my husband. I was driving and I consider myself to be a pretty good driver. I learned to drive while in a military transportation unit, but for some reason, when I'm with my husband, y'all, I am the world's worst driver. And I was thinking about this yesterday after randomly missing a turn for no good reason at all, because I'm a person who likes to understand and I'm always trying to make it make sense, whatever it may be. Why something happened, or why something is the way it is, or why someone behaves the way they do, even myself. So I'm driving and I'm thinking about this, wondering why it seems like my driving skills seem to deplete when my husband is in the car. And then it hit me, I'm safe with him. So when he's around, my brain goes into rest mode, even when I don't necessarily want it to. Now, I'm sure a lot of women can relate to this, particularly when you're out and about with your male partners. And if you can't relate, maybe it's time to reevaluate some things, but that's a whole nother podcast. I digress. Some of you might be saying, well, why are you driving anyway? Let him drive. I get car sick, y'all, so I can't be the passenger princess that I was meant to be. As my daughter would put it, I don't do the passenger seat. But anyway, me going through that in my head, trying to make it make sense, led me to the topic of psychological safety. So I decided to talk about that today. Now let's start with a clear definition. What does psychological safety even mean? Well, it's the belief that you can freely share ideas, ask questions, express concerns, or even make mistakes without fear of being punished, humiliated, or rejected. And it's not about everyone being nice all the time. It's about creating an environment where people feel safe to brainstorm out loud, to challenge the status quo, and even share half-formed thoughts without worrying about embarrassment or retaliation. Think about that for a moment. How many spaces have you been in where you really felt free to just say whatever comes to mind? Now think about spaces you've been in where you hesitated and didn't feel free or safe to speak up, where silence felt safer than honesty. The sad part is you've probably been in more spaces where you were hesitant than where you felt safe. I know I have. When people feel psychologically safe at work, they perform at their best. It's described as the absence of interpersonal fear, and that absence makes productivity, innovation, and collaboration the norm. It simply becomes how you operate in that space. It feels natural. Psychologically safe teams share ideas more freely, they learn faster, they solve problems more efficiently, they build stronger relationships, and experience higher engagement and retention. And there's research to back this up. The American Psychological Association notes that lack of psychological safety leads to preventable mistakes, lost opportunities, and a decline in creativity. Now, there is a misconception that creating psychological safety means lowering standards or avoiding accountability. You should never do that. As a leader, I'm all about having high standards and holding each other accountable. So no, psychological safety doesn't mean you avoid conflict or that you sugarcoat feedback, that you have to agree with everything, or even protect people from discomfort. It's not about shielding people's feelings, because while there is a way to present facts, I believe in facts over feelings, especially in the workplace. So, for example, I should be able to say that a process is not the most efficient and offer a more efficient alternative without the person who created the process getting upset and feeling attacked. because the goal is to work more efficiently. So I'm not going to get upset if someone brings a better solution to the table. That's ego. Instead, I'm going to be excited because someone found a way to save us all time and effort. Psychological safety, in other words, ensures that Sarah doesn't hesitate to bring a more efficient way to the table because she knows Jim, who created the process, isn't going to be upset. He's going to be excited because this discovery benefits the team. See how that works? Psychological safety means creating a space where people can take interpersonal risks, like disagreeing, asking for help, or admitting they don't know something without fear of negative consequences. So as a leader, how do you foster a culture of psychological safety among your team? Well, your behavior sets the tone. You model the way. How do you react when someone is brave enough to speak up? Whether a question, bringing a new idea, challenging a process, or dare I say, they are unsure about a directive you gave. Do you lead with ego, or do you lead with humility, curiosity, and openness? Your team is going to do what they see you do, and they learn what is acceptable by how you respond. Even the little things are impactful. A raised eyebrow, a sigh, a dismissive comment, a defensive tone. All of these communicate that it's not safe. Now, don't get me wrong, leaders are human. Lord knows I have my battles with my own face and knee-jerk reactions. But part of being a leader is recognizing where you have opportunity and actively working to improve in that area. So, a quick example. I've always heard comments about my facial expressions. And the reality is it's partly RBF and partly my brain flipping to another tab and me thinking about something totally off topic in the moment. So I always tell people, don't try to read my face. But people are going to try to read your face, especially as the leader. People used to think I was mad all the time, ask me what's wrong, and I'd just be like, what do you mean? I'm fine, nothing's wrong, I'm not mad. And their response always was, your face. So I knew this was something I had to work on, and I'm still working on it. I literally Googled ways to control your facial expressions. Don't quote me on the search, but it was something to that effect. And I learned that if you raise your eyebrows, it's supposed to relax your face. So when I catch myself maybe having RBF, I'll raise my eyebrows to try and relax or soften my face. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, as a leader, people are watching your reactions. So it's important to be aware of yourself, aware of your audience, and aware of the behavior you want to model and inspire in those around you. So invite input, model vulnerability, encourage healthy debate, respond to mistakes with curiosity, and show that every voice truly matters. And you might be saying, okay, Laura, that sounds good, but you're not telling me how. Okay, I got you. Here are 5 specific actions you can take to create psychological safety. Number 1, normalize not knowing. Even as the leader, you don't know everything, so don't pretend to. You can say things like, I could be missing something. Tell me what you think. Or, I don't have all the answers, but this is what I know. Or, we're going to figure this out together. First, it removes the expectation that just because you're the leader, you know everything. Because if you come in acting like you know everything, they're going to be sorely disappointed when they find out that you don't. And second, it lets the team know that it's okay for them not to know everything. And I do want to caveat that by saying, yes, it's okay not to know, but it's not okay to not take steps to figure it out. Number 2, reward speaking up with gratitude and curiosity. When someone shares a concern or idea, respond with, great catch, thank you for bringing that up. Or, tell me more, help me understand. Or, what do you think we should try? This communicates that you want to hear what they have to say, even if it points out something that you missed or it isn't the way things have always been done. Number 3, model healthy mistake making. Being a leader doesn't make you immune to mistakes. So be open with your team when you make a mistake and share what you learned from it. I always say to think in root cause analysis. What happened? Why did it happen? Who was impacted and involved? How do we fix it? And how do we prevent it from happening again? Make it just standard practice to have that open discussion with your team anytime there's a mistake or a miss, even if you were the one that made the mistake or missed something. You can start the conversation with, here's something I got wrong last week, team. Let's talk through it so that you don't make the same mistake. Or, I learned something the hard way, y'all. Let me share so we can all learn from it. Number 4, create repetitive opportunities for the team to be heard. You can do things like add open discussion as a standing agenda item on your daily or weekly huddle, always saving the last 5 to 10 minutes specifically for that. You can host monthly or quarterly roundtables with no agenda at all. You're just there to hear their ideas, any roadblocks, opportunities for overall improvement. Or hold structured debriefs after projects, just as a standard practice. Talk about what went well and what didn't go well so that you know what to do differently next time. These are times that are specifically dedicated to you hearing the voice of your team. And number 5, respond, don't react. Again, stay curious. Ask questions or say, help me understand. Invite them to help problem solve if it's an issue they're bringing up. Panicking, criticizing, or shutting them out is not productive, and it doesn't make for a psychologically safe environment. When people don't feel safe, they withhold ideas, they avoid risks, they stay quiet about problems, they disengage, and eventually they leave. Now, if you try any or all of these suggestions, be sure you let me know how it goes. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Now, psychological safety isn't just a workplace concept. It's a human concept. Kids need to feel safe to tell the truth even when they've done something wrong. Partners need to feel safe to express their needs. And loved ones need to feel safe to be their imperfect selves, knowing it won't change your love for them. Because none of us are perfect. And we all just want to be loved and accepted for who we are. Now, I want to challenge you this week. Choose one moment to intentionally create psychological safety. Maybe it's asking your team for input or admitting you made a mistake. Maybe it's thanking someone for speaking up and asking them to tell you more. Maybe it's responding with curiosity instead of defensiveness or blame. However you choose to contribute psychological safety to whatever environment you're in, know that one small act can have a big impact. So now it's time for today's affirmation. So close your eyes unless you're driving. Take a deep breath in, relax as you exhale, and receive the affirmation. I create spaces where people feel safe, seen, and valued. My leadership invites honesty, courage, and connection. Again, I create spaces where people feel safe, seen, and valued. My leadership invites honesty, courage, and connection. One more time. I create spaces where people feel safe, seen, and valued. My leadership invites honesty, courage, and connection. That's all for today, friends. Thank you for joining me. And if this episode resonated with you, please like, comment, and share. Now, this is the last episode for the season. I'm debating on doing a season 2. I've learned a lot. Social media is not really something I have heavily partaken in as far as interacting and putting out content. It's mostly just been me sharing special occasion pictures and doom scrolling. So this is something totally out of my comfort zone that I wanted to try and just see what came of it. You know, I spent the last 3 years of my career being a leader of leaders, and in that time, what I learned about myself is that I'm really passionate about not only being a good leader, but teaching others what I've learned along the way so that they can be good leaders too. So that's what this was about. I may continue doing it because I do see a need for leaders to get some practical and relatable direction when it comes to leadership. And most companies just don't have programs in place to dive into these topics with their people leaders. And it impacts their workforce in ways I don't think most understand. And I know this is not necessarily exciting or entertaining content, but it is needed. So if you want to keep hearing me talk about these things, or you want to hear me talk about other topics, just let me know. I've experienced a lot of different things in life, and I'm an open book and I'm willing to share openly. I've learned a lot in this process, and if I decide to do a season 2, it will be different, but I'm not sure yet. So let me know how you feel, what you want. If you think this is valuable, I should keep doing it, or if there's other topics you think I should tackle, I'm open to doing so. But in the meantime, I just want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for your encouragement, your support, and your time. I love you all. Take care of yourselves and always, always lead with love.